Video begins. Speakers addressing the camera directly, looking slightly amused and indignant. Have you ever been punished for doing your job? Asterisk to asterisk well. I mean, so well that your bosses get scared. Stick around, because you won't believe this story. I was the senior network engineer for a massive company, the guy who kept everything online and running smoothly. The company was planning a huge expansion, and they needed to train a bunch of new IT staff. Guess who they tasked with creating the entire training program? Yup, yours truly. So, I spent weeks pouring my heart and soul into it. I designed a comprehensive, hands-on training simulation. I created a completely isolated, sandboxed network that was a perfect mirror of our live production environment. This sandbox was my masterpiece. It allowed trainees to practice on a realistic system, make mistakes, and learn without any risk of breaking the actual company network. It was airtight, secure, and completely segregated. Or so I thought. The training day arrived. I'm in a room with 12 eager new hires, ready to mold them into IT wizards. The head of a tirade, a woman named Karenand. Yes, she lived up to the name was there to observe. The first exercise was simple. I gave the trainees basic administrative access inside the sandbox and told them to try and find a way to access the main company network. It was designed to be impossible, a lesson in security boundaries. I explained to everyone, including Karen, that this was a controlled test. They won't be able to get out, I said confidently. This will show them how our security layers work. 5 minutes later, one of the trainees raises his hand. Is this the company's payroll server? My blood ran cold. I rushed over to his screen, and there it was. Our live, confidential payroll database. My perfect, isolated sandbox had a hole in it. My heart was pounding. I immediately shut down the trainees' access and announced a short break. I couldn't believe it. How is this possible? I started digging, tracing the connection backward. And that's when I found it. It wasn't a flaw in my sandbox design. Someone, and I mean someone with high-level privileges, had secretly created a backdoor link between my training sandbox and the main network. A direct, unsecured bridge. This was a colossal security breach, a ticking time bomb. I knew I had to escalate this immediately. I documented everything I found. Screenshots, logs, the exact unauthorized network rule, and compiled a report. I walked straight to my boss's office, the director of IT, and laid it all out. He looked at the evidence. His face went pale, and he said, "Leave this with me. Don't speak to anyone about this." An hour later, I was summoned to an emergency meeting. It wasn't with my boss. It was with Karen from HR and the chief technology officer. The CTO, a man I'd barely spoken to, looked furious, but he wasn't looking at the evidence I found. He was looking at me. Karen started speaking. "It has come to our attention," she said in a cold, robotic voice, "that during a training exercise you orchestrated, you deliberately exposed the company's live network to untrained personnel, creating a catastrophic security risk." I was speechless. I tried to explain, to show them the backdoor I discovered, the unauthorized connection that someone else had made. They wouldn't listen. The CTO cut me off. "Your reckless training put this entire company in jeopardy. We have no choice but to terminate your employment, effective immediately." They handed me a box and had security escort me out of the building. I was fired. Fired for discovering a security flaw that one of them had likely created. As I was walked out, I saw my IT director. He just stood there, refusing to make eye contact. He knew the truth. He knew I was the scapegoat, thrown under the bus to cover up for someone much higher up. They thought that by firing me, the problem would just go away. They had no idea who they were dealing with. They had just fired the one person who knew their entire network inside and out. And I mean asterisk, every asterisk, single part of it. So there I was, sitting in my car in the parking lot, my career in flames. Anger turned into a cold, calculated calm. They wanted to play games? Fine. Let's play. I knew something they had forgotten. Before I was a senior engineer, I was the one who built the remote access system from the ground up during the pandemic. And as part of the emergency continuity plan, I had created a special, high-priority break glass administrative account. This account was designed for absolute emergencies. Like if the whole system went down and no one could get in. It bypassed normal channels, had the highest level of privileges, and was hidden deep within the system's architecture. And they never bothered to change the credentials after I created it. 5 hours. That's all it took. From the comfort of my home office, I logged in using the break glass account. It was like walking through the front door with the master key. I didn't delete anything. I didn't break anything. That's not my style, and it's illegal. I did something much, much smarter. I was the architect of their network, so I knew all its dependencies. I knew which systems needed to talk to which other systems for anything to work. I started by rewriting the firewall rules, not deleting them, just reordering them. I put a rule at the very top that denied all internal traffic. Next, I went into the core network switches and changed the VLAN assignments. Suddenly, the accounting department couldn't see the sales servers. The sales servers couldn't connect to the customer database. The entire internal network was a maze of dead ends. But from the outside, everything looked fine. The website was still up. It was beautiful chaos. Then, I moved on to the communication systems. I accessed the company's internal messaging platform and VoIP phone system. I didn't shut them down. I just rerouted everything. All internal calls were forwarded to the HR department's main line. Every instant message from every employee was redirected into a single, massive group chat that included every single person in the company, from the janitor to the CEO. You can imagine the pandemonium. The final touch was the best part. Remember the CTO and the HR lady, Karen? I went into the building's smart control system. I accessed the climate control for their specific offices. I turned the heat in the CTO's office up to the maximum setting. For Karen's office, I cranked the air conditioning down to the absolute minimum. One was a sauna. The other, an icebox. By the time I was done, not a single piece of useful work could be done in that entire company. The operation was completely, utterly gridlocked. And the best part, it all looked like a series of bizarre, unrelated system glitches. The next morning, my phone started ringing off the hook. It was my old boss, the IT director, in a complete panic. We're dead in the water. Nothing is working. The network, the phones, it's all gone crazy. We need your help. I let him panic for a minute before I calmly said, "Oh, really? That sounds like a catastrophic security risk. You probably should have kept the guy who knew how to fix it." The silence on the other end was golden. He knew. He knew it was me. "What do you want?" He finally whispered. I told him my terms, a consulting contract for 1 week, at 10 times my old salary, paid up front, a written apology from the CTO and Karen, acknowledging that I was wrongfully terminated and that my training exercise in fact uncovered a critical security vulnerability. And finally, a glowing letter of recommendation. He sputtered, but he knew they had no choice. Waiting and over, the contract was in my email, and the money was in my bank account. I logged back in this time as a highly paid consultant. It took me about 20 minutes to reverse everything I had done. I put the firewall rules back, reassigned the VLANs, fixed the phone and messaging routes, and set their office thermostats back to normal. Everything snapped back online. I was a hero. To them, I had performed a digital miracle. Later that day, I received the most painfully forced apology letters from the CTO and Karen. They were seething, but they had to sign them. I got my letter of recommendation and walked away with a fat paycheck, and my reputation restored. Never, ever underestimate the person who built the system. So what do you think? Did they get what they deserved? Let me know down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this story of sweet technical revenge, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss the next one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.